Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, a whole lot of fun. Looks like either the Saints were playing chicken with Mike McCarthy and lost, or they had their sights set on Kellen Moore all along. Well, there is one more option, but we can all hope it's not because the brain-dead haters were right and it's that bad of a situation. Anyway, plenty to talk about, so we're bringing Eric Asher back here to talk about it this morning and get his take. And, of course, we have to talk about the Super Bowl. As the big game is here in the Big Easy, just 11 days away, I have to ask the question, is Patrick Mahomes already the GOAT? He already has done things the guy, that most of y'all call the GOAT has never done. Should be a fun chat on Wednesdays with Gabe. Haters rejoice. The show starts now.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Can you say Kellen Moore? Man, if it isn't him, I'm going to have to find some flavored paper somewhere and change my name to Billy. It's never, I've had friends named Billy, still do. Don't work for me. I'm Jim. Jim Derry, 34 years on the New Orleans sports media scene, 34 and a half, if you want to be exact. I thank you for being a part of our ever-growing family. This is Dattitude, episode number 338, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, January the 29th, 2025. You don't know this already. We spend a lot of our time talking to you and you talking back at us. You're going to be a part of the show. I'm sure there's going to be so many comments this morning. I can't wait to get to them all. You can be a part of the show by typing in your comment, whether you watch it on YouTube or Facebook. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Next week, we're going to be on Radio Row. It's going to be fun. It is confirmed we will be on Radio Row. I have no idea how it's going to work. I know I'm going to show up. I'm going to be on the set of we have a set that's built, basically. So the Saints Insiders will be on from 9 to 12, and then I'll be on from 1 till whenever. I don't know if I just go get guest or if we still have Mono Monday or whatever is going on. It will be strange, but we will be down there at the convention center Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for sure. And then I think a week from Friday we'll probably be back in here because they're going to be breaking down the set, and I'm going to be coming back. And by then we'll be ready to be home. All kinds of stuff going on next week. Monday's going to be crazy. We got the show at 1 o'clock. I will be at media night. It's now media night. It used to be media day. So maybe I'll get some video from there to show you on Tuesday's show. Who knows? I have no idea what it's going to be, but we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. We will talk Super Bowl later in the show. Again, Wednesdays with Gabe. He's got some interesting facts to present. And again, I'm going to ask the question as I presented on the title slide. I mean, I think it's legit to ask the question, is Patrick Mahomes already the GOAT? I'm not saying you have to agree with me because I'm on the fence. Okay. First of all, I don't think Tom Brady's the GOAT anyway. I think it's Joe Montana. That's a long story. That's a different show. It's a whole show. But I'm starting to change my mind. And 1A and 1B is not Brady and Mahomes or Brady and Montana. For me, it's Montana and Mahomes. And I really think Mahomes is, if he wins this Super Bowl, there's no question in my mind. And not that I judge things based off of Super Bowls. I've told you many times in the show. I'm not going to tell you that because someone, but this Super Bowl to me could be that last little thing that puts him over the top. You win, you come into the league, you play 7 seasons, you make it to 5 Super Bowls, you win 4 of them. If you retire tomorrow, which he won't, or in 12 days after the Super Bowl, which he won't, is he the GOAT? I don't know. We're going to talk about that later on. I'll be interested. We'll take some of your comments on that as well. That's after Eric comes on and Gabe. Let's get to what we all came here to talk about this morning. Oh, I see there's a number of comments in the queue. I can't wait to read them. We'll read them along together. Rocky, good morning. You don't know if, because I'm telling you right now, I'm probably going to disagree with 80%. I know what these comments are going to go this morning. I'm just telling you ahead of time. I'm probably not going to agree with most of you. I'm staying on the ship that I've been on, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Rocky says he doesn't know if it's as much Mike McCarthy pulling out of the race or the invitation was never extended to him. I still believe Moore would be a great young choice. I mean, my take on this is pretty simple. It's the one that I've been saying. It's what I said in the open. This is nothing that I know from insiders or anything, or maybe will never come out. But my opinion is this. My opinion is, I think, first of all, I think there's no question their number one choice was Aaron Glenn. I think that the cockiness and the ego in the room probably they just assumed they would get Aaron Glenn. They didn't. Aaron Glenn chose the Jets, not because of Mickey Loomis, not because he wasn't going to have the control in here. Forget all the things that you've heard. My opinion is Aaron Glenn chose the Jets because, frankly, that's what he bleeds green and white. Majority of his career was in New York. He wanted to go to the Jets. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad situation to go to the Jets. It is a better situation than the Saints, but it's not because of Mickey Loomis. Secondly, my opinion is reading through the lines, using common sense. We told you we're going to use common sense on this show. Reading through the lines, my guess is Mike McCarthy and the Saints played a game of chicken back and forth, except Mike McCarthy wasn't really playing. My opinion is the Saints were playing chicken, and you know what? We're going to send a plane up to Philly. We're going to go interview Kellen Moore, and, we're going to prod Mike McCarthy into saying, this is what we're offering, because that's how the Saints roll. This is what we're offering. Mike McCarthy said, no, thanks. He played chicken. He says, I'll win. I'm out. I mean, I get it. A lot of you aren't happy about it. So now it's Kellen Moore. And so they better have I hope they had a really good conversation with Kellen Moore, because if you don't get him, you're in a whole world of hurt. We'll get to that. Charles Mangus, good morning. Mike McCarthy pulled out of the race for several reasons. The main one is he wasn't as high on the Saints Loomis's list. I don't have a warm and fuzzy on Moore. Yeah. You say he was fired twice by two good head coaches. That's not really true. I mean, yes, he was technically fired by Mike McCarthy, but first of all, he worked for the Cowboys for Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy. When Mike McCarthy came in, he kept a young Kellen Moore. So he let Kellen Moore go because, and I had to find this quote, because, quote, Kellen Moore wanted to light the damn scoreboard up, which means he didn't want to run the ball as much as McCarthy wanted to run the ball. There's good and bad about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the offensive coordinator wanting to light the scoreboard up. What's wrong with that? That's kind of dumb. And then he got let go of the Chargers because they let their coach go, and Harbaugh wanted to go in a different direction, which happens all the time, just like Kubiak's going somewhere else. So, Gary, good morning. Interesting situation the Saints find themselves in. That's the truth. What's going to happen if Kellen Moore decides to pass on the Saints? I would be shocked. Absolutely. I don't use that word very often. I told you I would be surprised if Mike McCarthy wasn't going to be the coach, but it was 70. I said Monday, 75% Mike McCarthy, 20% Kellen Moore, 5% chance I'm eating paper. Boy, that percentage is on eating paper is definitely going up, but I would be shocked if Kellen Moore isn't the coach, because I don't think there's any chance he passes it up if they offer it to him. That's my opinion. Go ahead, Gabe. You can take him over if you want. Okay. Smoke says, if Kellen Moore passes on the job, Kafka will take the job in the heartbeat. Let's don't go there. I'm not going anywhere else until, I had a very dear friend of mine this morning talking about Rizzy. I mean, Rizzy cannot be a legitimate option. I've been there. I've done that. I've told you why Rizzy can't be a real option. I'm not doing that this morning. S. Kelly, good morning. Who Dat Nation? Kyle Sherman, good morning. Dylan Smith, good morning. We don't get Kellen Moore. Who are we going to get? Well, let's talk about that. We don't get Kellen Moore. Sean, McCarthy pulled out because he didn't want to lose to a former offensive coordinator. Would it be a bad look for him to miss out 2 times in one cycle? You know what, Sean? I don't think that's the way it happened, but it's a possibility. UBN says he's going to be coaching the Saints. Nothing. I love my friend Mike Haas, who's been on the show in the past, but if you get the job, UBN, you're going to hire me to be the play-by-play guy. I want the gig. Just saying. John Pace, good morning. Hello, Dattitude world. Kyle Sherman, is in cold Oregon. Oh, it's kind of warm. We're worried about last week we had snow all over the place. Today we're worrying about fog. Saint for life. I do not have to eat paper. You need to go back. Y'all need to open your listening ears. I said I eat paper if it's not McCarthy or Moore. McCarthy's out. Moore is not. I'm sure hoping I don't have to eat paper. Hello, Angela. Good morning. TDRS is back. Tetters, what did you miss? You didn't miss a thing. You know what you didn't miss. Kyle, you want me to say hello to Colin Coward on Radio Row? That probably won't be happening. You know how much I care for him. Yeah, that much. Ryan Cavett, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. All you're doing is laughing as you watch the train wreck of the century. You thought Dallas was bad. They are the model franchise compared to the Saints. They hired Brian Schottenheimer as their coach. They let McCarthy walk because they played chicken with McCarthy too. And you know what? McCarthy's like, yeah, y'all can all piss off. I'll just wait till next year and get the job that I want, because he will. Just saying. Sky's not falling, boys and girls. It ain't falling. Promise you. Dwayne Hanson wants Kellen Moore. Oh, boy. Let's see what else we got here going on before I get to our friends at Evangeline. Jeffrey Williams says, Moore may want to wait to see if the Eagles win or lose the Super Bowl. The Eagles lose. Sirianni, oh, no. Come on, man. There's no chance Nick Sirianni's getting fired unless he, you know how he flipped off the fans? He'd have to flip off the owner. And then they'd still have to lose. They'd have to lose, and he'd have to flip off the owner. And maybe kick Jalen Hurts in the nuts, too. I don't know. He might have to do all of those things to get fired at this point. Sirianni ain't getting fired. And if he did get fired, I doubt very seriously Kellen Moore would get the job. Brian says, Rizzy, don't discount him. I'm discounting him. Rizzy ain't getting the job. It ain't happening. Last one before we get to our friends at Evangeline. Eric Asher is in the green room, too. We're going to be talking to him very shortly. Jay Tucker Rafferty, welcome to the Dattitude family. Go find us on YouTube. Click subscribe. The Saints want the young coordinator. They tried to slow play McCarthy, and he saw what they were doing. It's Moore's job now. I think you and I are on the same page. Again, I think they played a game of chicken. Whether the Saints lost the game of chicken or maybe they were like, we don't care if we lose. Maybe they didn't care if they lost the game of chicken. That could be too. I know one thing. Skip Bayless was talking about how he doesn't think Kellen Moore is head coach material. That's good enough for me. Hire him. If Skip Bayless doesn't like Kellen Moore, that means he's great. I want to hire him right now. I know UBN's going to agree with that one. What an ass clown that dude is. I guess he won't be on the show either. Oh well. Before we get to the rest of the show and more talk about Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and the like, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's what you need to know. That's the number one question. If that's you or someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. And the good news for you is I just got this message this morning. Mickey Loomis called over there yesterday. Nick said he was not interested in the Saints job, that he was sticking with a winning team. You don't have to worry about that. We kid because we love. Evangeline will start the whole process by scheduling a complimentary evaluation from their offices, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. From there, you will be well informed to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, we'll fill you in more later in the show, but in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. I don't know, man. Look, I am trying to look at this whole thing. I know a lot of y'all who have been with me from the beginning, or at least since last March 1st when we quote unquote rebooted this podcast and we became video live every day. And I know a lot of y'all think that I'm a glass half empty more times than not kind of guy, but I really am not. I mean, my nature is glass half full. And I'm trying to look at this from the glass half full perspective. And I think, again, look, I'm not defending Mickey Loomis again. I don't know how many times I have to say this. From what happened in the past 3 years and him keeping Dennis Allen around an extra year, and kicking the can down the road, and that includes keeping Allen. So by kicking the can and keeping Dennis Allen and advocating for Dennis Allen and chewing gum at a press conference and pissing everybody off, he doesn't have a lot of people in his corner. I get that. However, I don't think that where the Saints are in this coaching situation is really because of what a lot of y'all think. I'm just telling you. I think that the Saints had their eyes on Glenn. I think they got, I don't want to say ransacked. I just think that their egos in that room, there are a lot of egos out there in Airline Drive. I think their egos got the best of them. And they just expected they were going to get Aaron Glenn. They didn't. And they're like, just like they got thrown a loop when Sean Payton said he was leaving. They got thrown a loop when Aaron Glenn said he was going to the Jets. Just like that, here we are. So then they thought they were going to get McCarthy. Like, we can get McCarthy the way that we know how. We're going to play chicken. Oh, I want 5 years and whatever. And I want more control. And they said, we're going to give you 3 years and not that much control. And they said, well, McCarthy says, and look, this is all theoretical, but I could see how this played out. You know? Just telling you. Dwayne Hanson, Skip is an idiot. You said it. Charles Mangus, Skip gets $10 million a year for being a dumbass. Yeah. UBN says you're available for interviews on Radio Row. If you can find a credential to get on Radio Row, UBN, you are more than welcome to join us. David Duca, the sky is falling, Chicken Little. We're at the bottom of the barrel now. No, we're not. CC Broom, coach named Kafka might perfectly symbolize the current state of this franchise. This current state of this franchise is not nearly as bad as you think it is. Gabe says, by the way, Skip gets $10 million a year for bringing in clicks and views. He is most definitely an SEO figurehead. If you don't know what SEO means, it basically means how many clicks can you get. All right, last two before we get to Eric. Kyle Sherman. I am leading the Dattitudinals out of the depths. This will turn around and we will back to the glass half full fans again. Tough times, tough things need to be said when you're at rock bottom. Look, I get why a lot of you feel the way you do. I'm not telling you not to feel that way. Feel whatever way you want. I'm just telling you, and just the same way as I talked to my friend this morning, tried to talk him off the ledge. He wants to ride. He said, let's just ride a year or two with Rizzy and the Rat. I'm like, are you insane? JJ, it's about to be Rizzy time. Not a prayer in hell. Nola Man. He's a season ticket holder for 28 years. The first time he's told himself he's not sticking around for the rebuild. He will get back in when they put a good product on the field. Nola, man, I can't blame you. Just because I'm glass half full and I don't think it's going to be as bad as you think it's going to be, I can't blame anybody who spends their hard-earned money. Look, I spend my hard-earned money. Everybody wants to, a lot of y'all do season tickets. I spend my quote-unquote season ticket money, if I had season ticket money, on being an Endymion. And look, it's getting to the point where I don't know if I can do it anymore. It's expensive. Times they are what they are. So if you say, I'm not willing to keep spending my money on this franchise anymore, I can't blame you. I get it. I know another person who gets it. It's Eric Asher. He definitely gets it. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Jim. Is this the Dattitude therapy session?
It most certainly is. And you look like you're ready to bang your head against the brick wall.
That's why I put the brick wall up.
I knew you'd come in with some good stuff. Look, I am being the glass. I'm playing an unusual role. Okay? I am playing the glass half full guy. I don't think it's nearly as bad. I don't think the state of the franchise is nearly as bad as everyone thinks it is. I don't think that the coaching search. Now, look, when I got the word last night, it's funny. I'll tell you a really quick story. So I called the game last night, and I called all of St. Paul's home basketball games. And when the game's over, a lot of times I talk to the coach's dad, and he always likes to get my opinion. And I told him, oh, don't worry. It's going to be McCarthy. They're just playing a game of chicken back and forth. They flew up, talked to Kellen Moore. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm walking out the door to my car. I'm not even to my car. And Zach Ewing sends me the text message of the tweet from Tom Pelisseri saying that McCarthy's pulled his name out. I'm like, well, now I'll look like an ass again. So there we go. So it's not McCarthy. But your thoughts on where the coaching search is at this moment?
A complete disaster.
Okay.
I mean, I am convinced, and I have been for a long time, that Mickey Loomis does not want a big personality in the room anymore with the New Orleans Saints. He had that with Sean Payton. Look at what he's done with, again, when he had the first chance to replace Sean Payton, he goes with a Dennis Allen, who's not a big personality. And it looks as though now it will be Kellen Moore. And if you think that Dennis Allen was a big personality, you ain't getting much in Kellen Moore. The things that I thought that they had to look for in a coach, which was, again, the leader of men, master motivator, that's not Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore may be an offensive.
Why not? Why not?
Oh, come on. Look, when 2 nights ago, when it looked like Kellen Moore was going to be the guy, when they flew up to Philadelphia, I went and pulled Kellen Moore interviews going back to the Los Angeles Chargers. I got to tell you right now, he put me to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a problem. But I would say that a guy who in college, and I get it's just college, but a guy in college, where is it here? He went 50-3 as a starter. Was a 2-time first-team All-American as a quarterback.
Incredible.
To me, I don't know that you can't be at least somewhat charismatic not to go 50-3 in college, even if it is at Boise State. I don't care where it is. You go 50-3 and you're a 2-time All-American as a quarterback. You got to have some kind of. Well, you have to be able to motivate men in some.
He hasn't shown it in the NFL up to this point. I mean, again, as far as being charismatic and the type of. If you look at the difference between him and Aaron Glenn, it's the difference between Yankee Stadium and Kirsch Rooney.
Oh, I don't deny that at all. They're two completely different kinds of guys.
And to me, that was the type of guy that you needed for the New Orleans Saints. You needed somebody that not only could take over the room, they could take over the building.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is Kellen Moore. I am not downplaying his offensive genius, what he has accomplished in the NFL. I just wonder if he is ready or if he'll ever be ready to be a head coach in the NFL.
Eric, take yourself back, okay? Take yourself back 19 years, okay? This same time in 2006, when the Saints had just hired a coach, a guy named Sean Payton, that if we go back to that time, I don't think any of us really knew who the hell Sean Payton was. I certainly didn't. I had to go look, and it wasn't as easy to go look up
I agree.
Who the guy was back then. And we're hiring this guy, and I'm like, this guy's got a baby face. He looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the time, Sean's a little bit older than me. He's like 5 years older than me. But, so they're hiring a guy back then, 5 years older than me, and I was a young cat 19 years ago. And so I'm thinking, I don't know how this is going to work out. The Saints coming out off of Hazlitt. They held on to Hazlitt too long. Now they're going to hire this 41-year-old dude or whatever the hell he is to be coach of the Saints. I mean, who is this dude? It worked out pretty well.
Well, but again, different personalities. Completely.
But we didn't know that. I don't know that we knew
but
that.
Again, those that had played under him knew what he was, and knew that again he was a motivator and a guy that had a lot of attention to detail, and the things that we saw that again permeated throughout not just again the locker room but throughout the building. Okay, I mean it was a charismatic. When you look at the shift of the New Orleans Saints under Sean Payton to what it was from Hazlitt, I mean. Night and day. And again, maybe that's not what Loomis wants in the building. Okay. Maybe he doesn't want that big overbearing personality that takes over. And if that's the case, he was on the right track with a Mike McCarthy and a Kellen Moore.
No, I hear you. And this is a comment that I completely agree with. I don't know if hilarious is the right word. John Burris says the overreactions are hilarious. And I think that most of these things, and I'm not, it's just my opinion, but I think it's an overreaction. I think that if we're here, let's just say they're hiring Kellen Moore, whoever the hell they hire, whatever, and they have a decent draft, which is, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I mean, we got a few months before we get there, but I don't think that this team is that far away. We've talked about this on your show on Monday, and I know we're going to talk about it on your TV show on Thursday, Inside New Orleans, by the way, which you can catch on WLAE channel 32, and you can find it on YouTube as well. We'll give you a chance to talk about that in a minute, but I just think that this team is not as far away. If Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, if they have one more offensive lineman along the front and keeps Carr healthy, now I'm not saying you just want to be competitive, and competitive is good enough. And had they been competitive and they've been 8-9, we might still be stuck with Dennis Allen, which would be horrible. Okay. But I just think that the cap situation gets better after 2025. I think that a new coach can come in here. He's got to be an offensive mind, get the right coaching staff behind him. I just don't think this team is as far away as everyone else thinks it is.
I do like the offensive coach over a defensive minded coach. Okay. And look, Moore has done a great job everywhere he's been, not just with the offense, but with quarterbacks as well. So again, that is a plus. I mean, he's never done it. Can he do it? Can he be an effective head coach? That locker room is poisonous. Okay, whoever comes in that locker room,
I don't disagree with that at all. I agree with you.
Does he have the ability to do that?
Okay? I agree with you. I agree with that. Apathy says they absolutely need to solve the injury issue with this. We're going to do a whole show on that in the summer. I promise you there's going to be a show on that in the summer. There's another one I wanted to do. Sean asked, do I think the Saints make a decision by Friday? If not, what's the holdup? Here's part of the problem, too. Now, when the final decision made, if you look off across X, that doesn't really mean a whole lot because, I mean, most of the experts were saying McCarthy was the big favorite. Now they're saying Kellen Moore is the big favorite, and he is. But if they hire Kellen Moore, they can't officially hire him until after the Super Bowl. So we don't know when word would leak out. So I think the longer this goes now, I mean, it may be behind the scenes that Kellen Moore will accept the job, and we'll have to find out via the rumor mill.
But Jim, if I'm not mistaken, they can announce that he's accepted the job.
I think they can announce.
It cannot be official until after
he can't sign the paper, right?
Right.
Is that okay. Right? Okay. They can announce that they have agreed. Is that what it is?
And I'm sure they want to get that out the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you look, I don't know what happened with McCarthy. Maybe it was about money. Maybe it was about terms of service. Maybe it was about his ability to have more say in football operations.
Right.
Whatever it was. Okay. Obviously, with him out of the mix now, there's a lot of pressure on the Saints to get this done and get this done before Friday.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think that? I mean, and my premise was to start the show. I know you weren't in the green room just yet, but my premise to start the show was, I think the Saints were playing a game of chicken with McCarthy.
I heard it.
And I just think that either they didn't care if they lost and like, okay, we'll get Kellen Moore. This is what we're willing to offer you, Mike McCarthy, like you said. Or that they lost the game of chicken and McCarthy said, you know what? I don't need this crap. I'll wait till 2026 and I'll get the job that I want. I'll only be 62 next year. I'll go coach somewhere else for 10 years and ride off into the sunset. And I mean, so it could be one or the other, but I just think that McCarthy probably wanted, as Brian's talking about, McCarthy was about power. I think that's probably true. Yeah, I mean,
coming off of dealing with Jerry Jones, why would you want to have again more of a say in personnel going? But
forward? I think he was going to get way more here anyway.
Probably
the problem
so.
is how much are you demand? How much power are you demanding? I also think that it's probably length of contract as well. My guess is he probably wanted a 5-year contract. The Saints say, look, we ain't giving anybody a 5-year contract.
Why wouldn't you want to get a 5-year contract to a coach? Especially knowing this cap situation. I mean,
I'm not giving anybody a 5-year contract right now.
There's at least 2 years where, again, you're trying to rebuild this thing, okay?
Yeah.
And it could go either way. So if I'm a coach, even if I'm Kellen Moore, I'm looking for a 5-year deal.
I'm sorry. Sean McVay could say
3-year deal.
Sean McVay could say, I'm leaving the Rams and I want to go to the Saints, and I wouldn't give Sean McVay a 5-year deal. I don't think with the situation, look, even though I think this team is going to has a chance to be better, I just don't think they're in a situation where they can offer any coach a 5-year deal and be stuck.
And I don't think they can. I don't think they're going to get a coach to come without a 5-year deal.
I think Kellen Moore wants a job bad enough to where he would take a 3 or 4 year deal. That's my opinion. So
again, it would be interesting to see ultimately again what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
in terms of those conversations. But again, what's been reported is length of contract, etc. We don't really know.
Right.
Okay. We can all speculate on what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Again, what they have to do is get it right. Okay?
Oh, they have to get it right.
You got it wrong with Dennis Allen.
There's no doubt about that.
You got to get it right.
I agree, and that's why I'm scared to give anybody a 5-year contract. Randall, I think you got the wrong idea. It's sad when you get rejected for an interview from Cliff Kingsbury. They didn't. What I think people are not understanding about, I'm going to say this about Joe Brady, and I say it about Cliff Kingsbury. First of all, thank God Cliff Kingsbury didn't want to get into this mix. I think Cliff Kingsbury, I don't want anything to do with Cliff Kingsbury, by the way. Anyway, second of all, I think Joe, and I said this on your show, I believe this, Joe Brady wasn't a candidate for this job for over 2 weeks and then pull his name out because he thought he had a chance to get the job. No, he pulled out because he knew he wasn't getting the job. And they probably said, you're not getting the job. Here, go save face and say you pull your name out. The Saints don't care. It's the same with Cliff Kingsbury. They told Cliff Kingsbury, you're not getting the job.
A lot of that goes through the agents too as well.
Exactly.
Agents talking, and the agent knows that again, the Saints are going in that direction. But I mean, is it again? Joe Brady pulled out before they even interviewed Kellen Moore again in person. Again, so look, I think there are a couple ways to look at it. McCarthy did it as well. Remember, McCarthy sat out a year before he went to Dallas. Okay,
that's right.
And again, I'm sure that agents are looking around going, it was not the right situation. Hold a beat. Next year, you got another cycle. There'll be more teams that'll be available and maybe better situations than what you're seeing right now.
Do I think Mickey Loomis told Cliff Kingsbury no? 158%. I do. Cliff Kingsbury is not a legitimate candidate to be a head coach right now. All right, let's talk a little bit about Kellen Moore that people might not know about him. So I did some research on him, talked a little bit about him. But, I mean, look, you want to, if for those of you who want young blood,
he's got a resume.
Look, I'm going to say this about Kellen Moore. And look, I said this when we were first talking about who were potential. I'm like, this is the guy to watch from the outside. Now, I went a week or so without talking about him, but I always thought in the back of my mind that he fit every one of my quote unquote guidelines. And my main guidelines were this, and I've said this to you before. You know what my guidelines were. I wanted someone that was under the age of 50. I wanted someone that was offensive minded. I wanted someone who had never had anything ever to do with the Saints, maybe didn't even have black and gold in his closet. Okay. Those were my three main guidelines. Okay. And someone who's a coordinator, at least a coordinator, and has experience. Kellen Moore fits every single one of those things. I don't think he's ever even played for a team that wore black or gold. or coached a team black and gold. I guess if you want to say the Chargers wore gold, I think it's yellow, but whatever. I'm just saying he fits every one of those bills. Eric, he is born on July 5th, 1988. He is 36 years old. He's 25 years younger than McCarthy and Sean Payton. He's a quarterback in the NFL for 6 seasons, although he only started 2 games. He went 0-2 in Dallas in 2015, played for Detroit on the practice squad. In the 2 games he started, threw for 779 yards. Was the last left-handed quarterback in the league until Tua came in 2020. And then the Dallas quarterbacks coach in 2018, taking over for ex-Saint Wade Wilson. He was the OC in Dallas 2019 through 2022 for Jason Garrett in 2019, and then McCarthy. Then McCarthy decided he wanted to call the plays and that he didn't like that Kellen Moore was, quote-unquote, trying to light up the scoreboard. We don't want an offensive coordinator that's trying to light up the scoreboard. That's terrible. Then in the Chargers for 1 season, they switched. They fired Brandon Staley.
Right.
He had to leave then, and then got quickly hired with the Eagles, and he's worked out. Here's another stat for you. You might want that fans might be interested in. In his time as an offensive coordinator, his offenses have finished first twice. They finished in the top 11 4 of his 6 seasons as an offensive coordinator. Again, first twice in 2019 and 2021. So to me, that's pretty impressive. It's not, what you said, part of this job is firing up men, and we don't know if he'll be able to do that part. It's a huge part. But his resume as a coordinator, I certainly think he's ready to be given a chance to go to the next step.
He definitely has an incredible resume as a coordinator. I don't think anybody can discount what he's done in the NFL, what he did in college at Boise State. Again, you had your criteria, which you were looking for. My criteria started and ended with, again, 2 things as we open up this show today. Again, leader of men, master motivator. Okay. Everybody's coming in with their scheme. Everybody's coming in with their favorite coaches that they want to have on their staff. Everyone has a vision for the way that they want to be able to, again, turn a franchise around, because normally you're getting a job because the franchise is at rock bottom. But again, can you do the things that we saw that were successful here in New Orleans? And one of the main things that Peyton was able to do, outside of being an offensive genius, was he was a motivator. He was a leader of men. And to the point where he just didn't leave the locker room. He changed the entire organization, the building, everything. Everything revolved around Peyton, and that worked.
I agree. And I don't know, again.
And I don't know
if
Kellen
36 years old. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
Right.
But I think that the Saints are in a position now where, look, it's a risk. I think no matter who you go through, who's available, even – other than Aaron Glenn, who could have been that guy? I mean, I think Aaron Glenn fits all the guidelines for both of us, but he was probably the only one. And now he did play for the Saints for 1 year and was an assistant coach here, so that doesn't fill up my guideline. But I think Aaron Glenn would have filled the bill for all of us. But other than that, there really wasn't anyone out there and that fills all the guidelines. So I think the Saints are in a position to where they just have to take a risk at this point, and Kellen Moore is a risk, but so is McCarthy. And I just think they're in a spot where I'm willing to take that risk with a guy like Kellen Moore, who could be an offensive mastermind.
I do think that McCarthy is less of a risk than obviously a Kellen Moore, because, again, he's done it before. He's had success.
Right.
But I also think that when you look at the candidates that were left, the Saints were in a position where they had to make a move, and they have to make a splash with the fan base. Okay, people are upset with Mickey Loomis. Most people want Mickey Loomis gone. They don't think he should be involved in this decision. Again, everybody's talking about the draft. Okay, who's going to happen there in terms of again him being in charge of the draft. So they've got to do something to change the narrative here. Is Kellen Moore that guy? Now I know they're going to spin it like that. But again, ultimately, is he that guy? Now, again, I think another big part of this is, if he is ultimately hired, what will his staff look like? And when being such a late hire now, who can he get?
Yeah, no, I don't know. We'll probably find out, but we don't know. Dattitude podcast this Wednesday morning here with New Orleans radio icon Aaron Castro. He is on every day, Monday through Friday, on 106.1 The Ticket, 4 to 6 p.m. You can catch me on his show every Monday at 4:35. We have a lot of fun. We have about a 20-minute chat. We have a no holds bar kind of chat. We usually agree on things, and then on Thursday, your show. What time does your show come out? Does the show come out on Thursday?
It's 6 o'clock on WLA TV, 10 o'clock on the Deuce, which is WLA TV 2 on Thursday. Friday night, 9 o'clock, Pelican Sports Television, 10 o'clock on WLAE. It's on the WLA TV YouTube channel as well. I've posted on all of our social media platforms and on the website, ericasher.com.
And I'm the guest this week. Is anybody with me?
You and Garland Gillen.
Garland and
I know it's going to be
Oh,
another
boy.
knockdown, drag out type show.
You had me with Mouton last time. And this time you got me
Believe
with
me.
Gillen. That'll be a lot of fun.
I've seen
Brian,
you two guys on Final Bet.
oh, yeah. We have a lot of fun on a lot of Thursdays. Brian Cavett says, you just described Darren Rizzi.
I don't disagree, Brian. And to me, he was always the fallback coach. And if something happens again with Kellen Moore, if he decides I'm sticking around in Philadelphia for another year, this is not what I'm going to do. Darren Rizzi is the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
Eric Asher, if Darren Rizzi is the next coach of the New
You're
Orleans
eating
Saints,
paper.
you're not only am I eating paper, but you are going to want to watch the next Dattitude podcast because I'm going to go off. I think that Darren Rizzi would be a horrendous, awful, I'm going to use nice family words here today. He would just be a really bad decision. And
He's always been the fallback.
I don't give a damn if he's a general in the damn army. I don't think he can coach football the way this team needs to be coached. I don't care if the players want him. I said this the other day.
Rizzi might be a package deal. Rizzi might be one of those coaches.
I'm fine if he stays on his special teams.
Has to be retained. It's
I'm all good with
Michael
that.
Hodges. He's in Cincinnati right now, and he was one of the
completely fine if Darren Rizzi stays on as assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. If he is the head coach of this football team, we will be talking about the same crap next year and probably the year after that because it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire. It's not quite the dumpster. I know a lot of people think it's a dumpster. You don't know what dumpster fire is unless they keep Darren Rizzi. You'll find out what dumpster fire is. It'll be back to Mike Ditka days.
And the spin will be the players want Darren Rizzi.
Yeah.
That's the spin.
Right. Yeah.
That's the spin.
Guess what? You know the players who want Darren Rizzi? Those dudes will be gone in 2 years.
Those dudes are at the end of their career.
Exactly. They'll be gone in 2 years, going back to wherever they want to live because most of them, it won't be New Orleans.
Right.
Meanwhile, we'll be stuck with what's left of this trash.
Rizzi would be a bridge guy. He would have been what Dennis Allen was supposed to be, the guy to get you out of cap hell, and then of course you fire and move on to the next coach, and that's what it would be.
Rainy Cajun says, "You don't know dumpster fires if you weren't alive in the '80s." That is the truth. That's Callie.
Try the '60s and '70s.
Yeah, that's Callie says we're all going to go off. Rainy says, "Oh, to get some fiber." I get plenty of fiber in my diet. I got to get fiber. Got to get some. Maybe I need to change my prescriptions as well. All right. Also, look. Last thing on this before we turn to something else real quick, and I know you got a lot of things to do.
You see the brick wall behind me, right?
I do. Sticking your head against the brick wall. I know you don't agree with me that the Saints are. You're more of the glass half empty.
Oh, I didn't start out that way, but I become that way. Yes.
But you see that they can get out of this cap hell, right? You just don't think they can do it with Loomis.
No, I don't think so, because again, he will kick the can down the road again this year.
I don't think he's going to do that again.
Yes, he will. He will renegotiate a deal with one of his aging veterans again to open up cap room because he has to, because there's no money to sign free agents. So you tell Kellen Moore, this is what you got. We don't really have a lot of money to spend in free agency, so you're going to have to go with the status quo. No way. Nobody's buying that.
Well, Nola Man.
Yes, he will kick the can down the road once again.
Nola Man says, watch how the dome is empty and season ticket holders drop like flies if Rizzi is the coach. And the way to hit
Nola Man, they're tone deaf. They're tone deaf. Tom Benson would have looked at the bottom line and said, I'm losing season ticket holders. We're making changes. I don't think Mrs. Benson is there. Again, I think
here's the thing. I think you can only be tone deaf for so long. If you're sitting in that Superdome for the last 2 years, in which he is, I know he is, he's sitting in his suite every game, and you look out and you see all this. Think about the Broncos game, and that's the one that sticks out in my mind.
Right.
All the orange jerseys in that lower
the Philadelphia
bowl.
game.
Philadelphia, all the green in the lower bowl. The Detroit Lions 2 years ago, all the Honolulu blue.
And they know the tickets are on the secondary market. They're keeping track of that. They see how many season ticket holders are selling their tickets, like I am.
I just don't think you can be tone deaf when that keeps happening. At some point, you have to be realistic, and you have to realize that we can't keep doing this. And I honestly think that, and look, I know I always say don't bet against God because he keeps winning. And so you shouldn't bet on Loomis because he keeps on kicking the can. I just don't think realistically, again, I'm trying to use common sense on the show. And if anyone has common sense, I just don't think anyone with common sense looks at this and say, we can keep doing this and it's sustainable. They are now at the point where it's like a running joke in the NFL that they're like by far the worst team in cap. You just can't do it.
And finding a coach. Yeah, it's one of the main reasons why they've got a top 9 draft pick. Okay. Yeah, the reason why is they have no money. They're broke. Here's the other thing. If you want to have a successful draft and you're Mickey Loomis, don't pick up the phone when Howie Rosen calls. Because the Philadelphia Eagles have built their Super Bowl appearances on the backs of Mickey Loomis's trades to Philadelphia.
Right. I don't know. I just think sometimes, you go into this season, who had the best cap space before the season? Do you know the answer?
No, I don't. I mean, I remember saying it.
I'm going to give you the top 2. The top 2 were the Patriots and the Raiders, and they both stunk, and I wouldn't want anything to do with them going in the future. So I think sometimes the cap, look, I'm not saying the cap isn't important. It is important, but it sometimes it's overrated too. I mean, but you could talk about who's number one. I mean, you look at the bottom. I mean, some of the teams that, the Bills are 6th worst.
Also, Jim,
the Bills are the 6th worst.
The Raiders and Patriots.
Those are the top. Okay, I'll keep going. You want me to keep going? Who's at the top here? And okay, the Commanders, obviously they changed things around. The Cardinals, okay, they were okay. Bears stink. Chargers stink. Vikings, they were great. They came out of nowhere and were great.
With the exception of the Commanders, have a garbage front office.
But I mean, you can make excuses. What I'm saying is those teams have all this money and they're not spending it right. I mean, so sometimes I just think the cap situation that you're in can be overblown a little bit. That's just my opinion. I hear you.
You still need money to spend.
No, but that's what I'm saying. When you get to this point,
you gave Chase Young a 1-year deal. I mean, you were basically giving 1-year deals to cast-offs last year, trying to fill out the roster.
Right, but I think most of us, we sat and talked about Chase Young, and we thought, and look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I said back, look, $13 million for Chase Young. I'm going to go back in time. And at the time, I'm like, you know what? That looks like a pretty good deal to me. You get a guy who could end up being one of a top 5 defensive edge rusher in the NFL.
If you never set the edge, you would have been all right this season.
He's just a dog. He's a bum. I mean, he proved that he had the chance to go out and prove, hey, look, I'm playing for $13 million. I'm worth $20 million. And instead, he just kind of stood around and did nothing for 17 games. That's his bad. Look, but I think at the time you go back and look, I thought that was a good deal for the Saints. They're probably going to have a couple more like that coming up next year.
Yeah, I mean, again, importing backup offensive linemen, and then again, the mismanagement of the cap is why New Orleans Saints are where they are today.
Yeah. I don't know. Chad Gage, welcome to the Dattitude family, is not supporting a double-edged sword where they could possibly move the team. Just asking and afraid that would be an option. No, I don't think that. I mean, if this isn't like a major league situation where they're trying to, I don't think they're trying to move the team. Look, I don't think they're going anywhere. Again, as long as Miss Gale's here, if she passes, the team goes into a trust, then we have a whole different situation to talk about. We won't talk about that right now, but I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think so. Again, I think the New Orleans Saints are here in New Orleans. Okay. I think the NFL wants to be in New Orleans. I think, again, you look at, even though, again, our city is a declining city.
Yeah.
We're still a big event city. And I don't see the Saints going anywhere. I don't see the Pelicans going anywhere either. Again, I do think they'll find some local ownership at some point if and when Mrs. Benson passes. But until then, are we supposed to sit again in and as fans, the fans of the New Orleans Saints, fans of the New Orleans Pelicans, are you supposed to live again in the land of mediocrity or worse? Or
No, you shouldn't accept it.
Championship. Because again, Jim, professional sports is about winning championships.
No, I hear you.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
No, I'm with you.
If you're not vying for championship, trying to win a championship, what are you doing?
Well, here's what you have to look forward to. And again, this will be the last thing we talk about on Saints. I'm going to get you a quick opinion on Super Bowl in just a second. But the Saints, 2026, they've got 69. They should be right as of right now. We don't know exactly what the cap is, but we got an assumption right now. The Saints are 69 million under the cap for 2026, and for 2027, they have like 100 and some odd million. They're way under. So it gets much better. Okay, so you got to get through this season. And again, I know we're assuming that they don't kick the can. Again, I don't think they will. I think they want to rebuild in a certain way. You find your quarterback. You'll have money to do so after this year, which is why you and I both are pretty sure that Carr will be back. Then you can worry about a quarterback after this year. I think it gets much better after this next season.
I'm interested to see again with Kellen Moore coming in. Is he looking at a quarterback in the draft that he would like?
Yeah.
And again, even if Carr is a rich quarterback, that again, that's not a priority for this team in the draft this year.
I don't know. I think the only, and I'm not a big fan of his either, but I think the only quarterback, in my opinion, that's even potentially an NFL quarterback is Cam Ward. And I think he'll be gone. I mean, I don't think, I'm almost certain he'll be gone by the time the Saints draft. So I just don't think this is a draft where you can draft. And I hope they don't draft another 4th or 5th round quarterback. Stop wasting picks in the 4th or 5th round. It ain't going to happen.
They got to build the trenches up. That's got that and playmakers. Those are the things that they need desperately. You have to get better on the offensive defensive lines. And again, you need to add speed and playmakers to this team.
Yeah. Black Preacher Man says, thanks for saying that, Mr. Asher. And Loomis has mismanaged the cap for the last 4 years, maybe longer than that. That's a whole story. All right, real quick before we let you go this morning, your thoughts on Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. It's going to be a crazy week next week. The 10 will be a buzzing. I don't think anybody should be surprised that it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they were I still think they were the two best teams going in to January, and I think they're the two best teams coming out of January.
I would agree. I mean, again, I was hoping for a Buffalo-Detroit Super Bowl. I was hoping for, again, new teams coming in, especially with the city hosting it and the fans coming down. But again, the fans are coming no matter what, whether it's a three-peat or Philadelphia trying to win. I just think it's hard to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes is the best player in the NFL, and I think it's very, very difficult to be able to pick against them. But I will say this. Saquon Barkley is playing incredible football right now.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
And again, maybe the best back in the NFL. So again, if Hurts, again, if his knee injury is sufficiently healed and they can get the running game going and control the clock, it could be a different game.
Interestingly, the big knock on Kellen Moore was by McCarthy that he didn't want to run the damn ball. Maybe he just didn't have a running back that could run the damn ball because guess what? The Eagles were second in rushing this season. I think that worked out okay. I mean, it helps when you got a guy like Saquon Barkley.
Barkley's been incredible for them. I mean, again, he's tipped the scales for Philadelphia this year.
Well, tell everybody out there how they can find the great Eric Asher.
Well, you can catch me on the radio 4 to 6 weekdays, 106.1 The Ticket. You can listen live at ericasher.com. The Ticket has our own app, 106.1 The Ticket app. It's available at your favorite app store. iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio, by other digital platforms. You can catch the show as well. You can listen live. And, of course, the podcast is available on all podcasting platforms. We try to have that up for you about an hour after the program. Inside New Orleans Sports, each and every Thursday on WLATV at 6 p.m. Also, again, replay at 10 o'clock on WLATV2. Friday night, 9 o'clock, Pelican Sports Television, 10 o'clock on WLE. Always at ericasher.com, always on our social media platforms. Always on the WLTV YouTube channel. You follow me at Eric_Asher on X, Eric Asher on Facebook, Inside New Orleans Show on Instagram, and Threads.
You definitely want to catch the show, the TV show this week.
This is going to be a good one.
Me and Garland Gillen might have a little boxing match. Who knows?
It will be energetic and fun for sure.
Definitely be energetic. We'll have a lot of fun. We will see you tomorrow, Eric.
All right, bud. Thanks so much. Always good to be on the show.
Thank you. Great Eric Asher, New Orleans radio icon, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't believe me, just go check out his following. He is the Eric to me, and he's gone now, so I don't have to say this. Eric Asher to me is the most underrated sports talk show host in the Southeast, or Southeast Louisiana, I should say. Maybe the entire Southeast. I don't know why he never got up to that, I don't know, recognizable name, next level, but most of you know who he is because y'all are all experts on Saints talk. Okay, so y'all know who he is. Y'all listen to him. KD Brown. It's always nice to hear Eric Asher again. Rainey says a station not owned by Odyssey. Probably shouldn't touch that. Anyway, just saying, I love Eric Asher, and he and I have become pretty good friends the past couple of years. I didn't really know him hardly at all until about 3 or 4 years ago. And he, I started doing some stuff at bet.nola.com when I moved from covering high schools and doing play-by-play. I'm still doing play-by-play, but when I moved from high schools and became sports betting writer and we were doing Bayou Bets, he caught me on there and asked me to come on his show out of the blue. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And then next thing you know, he and I became buddies. And kind of kindred spirits. He's from the parish. I'm from the West Bank. Usually those work out pretty well. Both loud, sometimes obnoxious, some people say. Jay Tucker Rafferty, mismanaging the cap was not the biggest problem. The players they decided to pay kept Davenport over Hendricks, kept Warner over Bond and Elise. Brain cramp. The drafts are a bust and keeping the wrong players. Jay, you're partly right. Some of those players, they didn't have a choice. Hendricks, they weren't keeping. Hendricks was going, okay? There was no way they could afford to keep Hendricks, okay? Bond, as much as I would love Bond, and I've made jokes about not having Bond, Pete Werner, when you look at last year and you decide whether to keep Pete Werner or keep Zach Bond, and you're talking about Ellis. That's what I was thinking about. Ellis is now in Atlanta. I think at the time, hindsight's always 20/20, and Bond's an All-Pro. And how did that happen? And I was a fan of Zach Bond, but you have to make a decision at some point. And at the time, I thought it was the right decision. Pete Werner, or if you got to decide between the two, I thought Pete Werner would have been. Now, it obviously wasn't, and they look kind of silly. So a lot of times you go back and you do things that are hindsight, okay? I think Sean Payton just had a knack for these things. Didn't happen that much. I give Sean Payton his knock, and a lot of the knocks that I have on Sean Payton were the way he treated people out. And he's definitely a different person now. He's much different now. But Sean Payton had a knack. Sean Payton you had to fill a certain, let's say, personality quality. You had to have this quality about you to be a member of the New Orleans Saints. And somehow it always worked out. Now, you can go back and look at certain players like a Brandon Cooks. Maybe he shouldn't have let him go too soon. There are probably others I can think of that he let go. But in the grand scheme of things, Sean Payton just had that knack for who was the right guy to keep. If you had a decision to make about two different guys, Sean Payton made the right decision like 85% of the time. And if you don't think it was Sean Payton, it was Sean Payton. So that's what worries me more than anything. I'm obviously, if you've been watching the show, I'm an advocate for Kellen Moore. I think he's going to make for a good coach. I think it's the right decision for the Saints. Again, I think it's a good risk for the Saints at this point. A 36-year-old guy, an offensive mind, bring him in. But will he have that instinct at only 36 years old to be able to pick the right player? So, Jay, your point, I agree and disagree all at the same time. Not all of the Saints drafts were busts either. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. KD says, on offense, he whiffed a lot on defense before DA became the DC. Yeah. But, all those decisions we were just talking about, those were all defensive decisions, all made by DA, mostly DA, and he didn't make those right decisions. Rainey wants to know if I think Moore wants, in capital, wants the job. 189% he wants this job. You're 36 years old. You've been an offensive coordinator since, I don't know, what year? 2019. He's been an offensive coordinator. 189% he wants this job. There's zero question he wants this job. Preacher Man is saying Werner was younger and had more upside to play opposite DeMario Davis. Yeah, I mean, look, again, we talk about this all the time, hindsight, okay? That's why I'm telling you that things probably aren't as bad as you think they are. Just like I didn't necessarily think they were as good at times as some people thought. People thought whenever Drew Brees here that it was automatically just sunshine and roses. There were 4, count them 4. And I'm not saying, Drew Brees wasn't the greatest player that ever played for the Saints and was probably one of the top 10 players that's ever played this game, because he was. But you count 4. He had 4 7-9 seasons. That's a lot. Okay? So things aren't always as good as you think they are, and they aren't always as bad as you think they are. And if you're new to this show, and we have a lot of new names in here today. One thing that I try to do in this show, and have always done, I'm reality-based, okay? This is a common sense show. I'm going to tell you at least the way that I think that it is. Now, I may not be right either. I thought McCarthy was going to be the coach. I said 75% McCarthy. On Monday, 20% Kellen Moore, 5% chance that I was eating paper. I think now there's probably a 30% chance I'm eating paper. 70% chance it's more. It's not Kellen Moore. We got a whole different kind of show to do for you next. I promise you. It ain't going to be pretty. Rest of the show, a couple of notes here before we move on to the rest of the show. I'm going to finish the show with Saints and take some comments here. I'll take Jay says he agrees that Kellen Moore has wanted to be a head coach for years now. There's no question. Nola Man, it's your first live show. You enjoy being active with you enjoy that I'm active with the audience. Keep up the good work. That's what we do here. That's one thing that's different. And look, I almost didn't go on Radio Row because when we had our meeting, we weren't sure if we're going to be able to do comments. And I don't think I want to do this show if we can't do comments. I mean, at least half of what we are is being able to hear from you and hear from the people that come on the show, especially the regulars. So, but we will be able to. I think we figured it out. Gabe's going to be with us. Again, if you weren't listening earlier, we will be doing the show next week. All of our shows next week. As of right now, I could change this, but I think we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from Radio Row. Take Thursday off, and then Friday I'll be back here in my home studio. And all the shows next week will be at 1 p.m. So a programming note, all shows next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday will be at 1 p.m. Okay. And we will try to get some guests, some people walking around. Who knows? We might have some big names, might have no names. It might be me and Gabe. Who knows? UBN come on for a day. I know Larry's going to come on at some point. We'll see. So anyway, we'll worry about that next week, but I wanted to let everyone know that we will be on at 1 p.m. on all of our shows next week. All right. Again, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl next with Gabe, and then I'm going to wrap up today's show with some more comments, finish it up with my final thoughts on what I think is going to happen and how it's going to work itself out the rest of this week and next week. Okay. With the Saints, and tell you when I think it will be done. Not that I was right about McCarthy, so you might not even care what I think. We told you earlier we were letting you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. And we already told you not to worry because Nick turned down the Saints job and he isn't going anywhere. He is here to serve you. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. Offices on Pointer Street and in Lafayette. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It ain't McCarthy. It ain't Kellen Moore. It ain't me. You know what's important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. That is www, says Buddy D, .evangelinesecurities.com. Shane Dumas says he enjoys the show. He's late to the party. We rewatch. You missed a lot. Eddie, my boy Eddie Burris, wants to know if I'm going to have Swifty on the show next week. You know, I make a lot of jokes about Swifty, but if she wanted to come on the show, I ain't saying no. I'm not a dummy. I ain't a dummy. All right. Yeah. Kellen Moore's who dat will be so nonchalant. I can't even picture that. I mean, he doesn't seem like the fiery guy, but again, if you're a two-time All-American and you went 50-3 in college at Boise State, you got to have some kind of inspiration, don't you? What's up, big dog, Hakeem? Batiste is here. All right. Again, I'm going to wrap it up with the Saints, but I want to move on and talk for a moment about Super Bowl. Line has not changed. Exactly the same. Minus 1.5. Over under a 49.5. Not ready to give predictions out. We'll do that next week. I don't know what day we're going to do that. I'm going to have to figure it out. Might be Wednesday. I know UBN's busy on Friday, so he's not going to be able to be here on Friday. Maybe we'll record that. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. We'll have to figure that out next week. But we will have our pick segment. But right now, we're going to have our Super Bowl segment. And we're going to bring in Gabe Henderson for Wednesdays with Gabe. Always fun, sometimes spicy, sometimes informative, sometimes both. What are we going to have this morning, Gabe Henderson?
Well, can we get your best Liam Cohen impression? You saw that video, right?
I did not see the video, but I'm saying there's talks in here about it in the was it cringeworthy or something?
I can't believe you haven't seen the video.
No, I've been busy. I had to do play-by-play yesterday.
So you know how the Jacksonville Jaguars, their whole chant is Duval.
Yeah, of course.
In Duval County.
Right.
He had probably the most awkward introductory press conference in the world. He gets up there, and keep in mind, this is a guy that was an offensive coordinator at Kentucky.
Okay.
So he's probably the most socially awkward NFL head coach by default. So he gets up there and he kind of looks around and he goes, Duval.
Wow.
I'll send it to you. I can't stop watching it.
I might have
genuinely. I have never seen a coach doom himself.
Gully says it was so bizarre.
So quickly. I mean, people are already deeming him a failure because of this video. I can't stop watching. It's hilarious. You get secondhand embarrassment, but you can't look away, you know?
I'll have to watch it. I'll have to watch it.
I'll be sure to send it to you. But one more note before we dive into Super Bowl. You keep mentioning Kellen Moore's record as a starter at Boise State.
Yeah.
Do you know that Boise State is the winningest college football program this century?
No, I did not. But that doesn't surprise me, honestly.
No, they are.
They always have, like,
team.
I got to be honest, you know, I think they could compete in, like, the ACC.
Well, they're going to compete in the revamped Pac-12.
Yeah, but is that going to be that's just going to be kind of like the Mountain West Plus, right?
Yeah, but the Mountain West Plus is basically just late night Big 12.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it because I gotta have something to bet on at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday when I can't sleep.
Rocky, you know what? I'm gonna check. Rocky said the Duval video probably has 1 million views. Oh, I bet it's got more than that.
That's
it's
million.
Probably closer. I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna
get
check
1 million on Dattitude. I wish. Tara Zachary Lavere says, "Don't think they even talked to Spags." I don't mean this to be mean, Tara, but thank God. Okay. We don't want. Do you remember when Spags was here in New Orleans didn't really work out.
Let me ask you this: is Steve Spagnuolo a Hall of Famer as a coordinator? He might be I don't know if there's any pure coordinators that are really, or any guys that are in the Hall of Fame purely for their contributions as a coordinator.
I'm biased because he was so bad when he was here.
Yeah,
You're asking the wrong person.
One, though, it's Spags.
You know what? If he made it, I wouldn't come on the show the next day and say that's ridiculous, which I've been known to say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who dat daddy? Jim and Gabe, he wants to know how we're doing. I'm doing pretty well. Who dat daddy? Welcome to the show. I know you were here the other day. Thanks for coming in. Hakeem says cap situation is bad. Would be sellers. He's in that front office. 2027 is the year we should be looking forward to riding this ship and having compete for a playoff spot. I don't think it's gonna be that long. Okay, we'll see.
I don't know if the Jaguars official account posted the Duval video.
All right, we're going to be looking at that, but I want to spend at least 5 minutes on this topic that I started the show with,
for sure,
and asking the question, because I know you're kind of on my side here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% there yet, but I am really close to saying that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest football player who has ever lived. Now, he's got a few little things maybe, but if somebody said that, I certainly wouldn't argue with them right now.
To answer Black Preacher Man's question, yes, Boise State is the school.
Yeah, they're the one with the blue field. Yeah.
The one that PETA hates, apparently.
PETA hates? Why do they hate not to get off on a tangent, but why do they hate the blue field?
You know, remember, we've talked about this. I think
I don't remember this.
Yeah, PETA doesn't like it because ducks will fly down thinking it's water.
Oh, come on.
Injure themselves.
Because there's so many ducks flying around in Idaho.
In Boise, Idaho, yeah.
Yeah, the ducks just living in Boise, Idaho.
To answer your question about Mahomes, yeah, I mean, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not ready to call him the greatest quarterback yet.
Okay.
But if he wins this Super Bowl, I think we're there.
I agree, man. And look,
I think because that'll move him into second all time. He's not even 30 yet.
I got some numbers.
Tom Brady played till he's 45.
Right, and I got along those lines. I put together some numbers this morning. Okay, and I know you have some stats that you're going to share today or Friday. I'm not sure which, but it doesn't matter. Either way, here's some stats. Through 7 games as a starter, okay, 7 seasons as a starter, not 7 games. Through 7 seasons as a starter, Tom Brady, who I don't know, 75-80% of the football watching public thinks the GOAT. I don't. I think it's Montana. But anyway, that's a different argument for a different day. Doesn't matter. The point is, through 7 seasons as a starter, Tom Brady had 86 wins. Now, those are regular season wins, including a 16-0 season in that 7th season. Mahomes, if you include include a 16-0 season, when I'm looking this up and I did Brady first, I'm like, well, Mahomes doesn't have that many. Yes, he does. He's got 89 wins. He's got 3 more wins than Brady through 7 seasons. Through those same 7 seasons, Brady had 14 playoff wins and 3 Super Bowl victories in 4 attempts. Mahomes has 17 playoff wins, 3 more, and can win his 4th Super Bowl. It's his 5th appearance. So that's just the beginning. So we could start there. Those are numbers that are better. And you talk about how old Brady was until he played. Now, Mahomes probably won't play till he's 45. But
no,
let's just say Brady played 21 seasons if you don't count the 2 seasons he appeared in just 1 game. One of them he got hurt. One of them he wasn't ready to be a starter yet. Mahomes is finishing his 7th season. So 3 times fewer, right? Brady went to 10 Super Bowls and won 7. Mahomes is about to go play in his 5th Super Bowl, which is half of Brady already. Brady threw for 89,000 and some odd yards. Mahomes has already thrown for 32,352 yards. If he plays in the same amount of seasons as Brady, he's on pace to throw for 97,000 yards, which is almost 8,000 more than Brady. I'm with you. If he wins this Super Bowl, I got to say, I would think I would call him the GOAT.
I agree. And UBN asked the question, can Mahomes be the GOAT over Brady when Brady beat him twice? Yeah, I think he can.
Look.
Because here's the thing. Right now, Mahomes is accomplishing something that Brady never did. If they win, he will be the first quarterback in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. That's never happened. Not even Brady. I think they won 3 in 4 years early in his career. If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But they never won. They were never able to win 3 in a row.
That's right.
And I mean, just the run that Mahomes is on, the level that he elevates into, and it's weird because you look at a lot of the parallels. I mean, they're both They're coached by the two greatest coaches in NFL history. I think we can say that, right? I think I'm ready to say Andy Reid's the second greatest coach in NFL history.
I put it this way. I don't think I agree with that, but I'm certainly not going to argue with you because you could definitely make a point.
I mean, this is his what? This is his 6th Super Bowl, 2 different teams.
Yeah.
He wins, it'll be his 4th.
He's up there. He's up there.
His 4th ring.
I don't know if I think, and look, he didn't have the same kind of volume, but I think Bill Walsh is up there with is one of mine, but he didn't coach long enough maybe to be the second best coach. I don't know. And then Lombardi, I don't know if we can appreciate what Lombardi did because neither one of us really was around when Lombardi was coaching. I don't know. Who that daddy says he seconds Mahomes. Hakeem Batiste says if Mahomes wins his 4th Super Bowl before the age of 30, it's a legitimately good question.
As I read the other day, he would be the only player in NFL history before the age of 30 to win 4 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs.
That would be not only that. I mean, how many quarterbacks have won 4 Super Bowls? Period. Terry Bradshaw, Tom Brady, and that's it, right?
Bradshaw. I think
Bradshaw
Montana did it.
I think Montana only won 3.
Let me double check.
You can look. I'm not sure. I think he only won 3.
Pulled up earlier. Montana won 4.
Did he? Okay. I know Steve Young won.
So Brady's in first with 7. Bradshaw and Montana are tied for.
That's pretty good company there. JC says hello from Denver. And Rocky, by the way, just on the Blue Field note, Rocky says 242,000 ducks a year are killed by hunters in Boise. Well, that's fantastic research you did there, Rocky. I don't know if I could have gone the rest of the day not knowing that. Jay Tucker Rafferty says, give me Jim Brown or Barry Sanders. If Jim plays 16 games, I'm always the whole if thing. I'm not a big fan of the word if. Jim plays 16 games just in his 9-year career, would have had rushed for over 20,000 yards. Barry retired before he set the all-time rushing record for his career. Here's the problem, and I didn't see Jim Brown play, so I'm always going to lean towards guys that actually saw play. And I get it's hard sometimes to compare a Jim Brown, so I'm not going to say that's an invalid point. But with Barry Sanders, here's my problem. As great as Barry Sanders was, and I know you didn't really see Gabe Menderson. I know you just saw YouTube clips and whatever. The problem I had with Barry Sanders is that he had too many negative yards. He had too many carries where he'd get stopped in the backfield. Of course, they don't show those, nor should they. I don't know. Apathy says, real quick, Randy Reid retires and comes in. Mike McCarthy next season and wins 3 more Super Bowls.
I don't think McCarthy goes there. I'm on the record saying if Andy Reid retires, I think it's Kingsbury. It's either Kingsbury or Matt Nagy. I can't
imagine they would really go to Kingsbury.
If Patrick Mahomes wants it,
you're right.
They would.
You're right. If that's what Patrick Mahomes wanted, I can't imagine that's what Patrick Mahomes really won. I know.
He was his college coach. Mahomes, that offense was really good in college.
Ugh. CC Broom says you can't put Mahomes in that spot until his career is over. Why? Brady was put in that spot 8 years before 100%. He retired. I don't necessarily agree with. I guess I hate the whole you got to wait 5 years to be in the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of dumb things in this world. Mm-hmm. We could make a whole list of top 20 dumb things. Hey, there's a show. Write that one down. Top 20 dumb things in sports. That's got to be one of them. Having to wait 5 years to be in the Hall of Fame. That's stupid.
I get it.
Why?
My biggest pet peeve for the Hall of Fame is the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I guess this is my issue with Hall of Fames in general is people. Yeah. If people aren't, a different story. If people don't get in or they don't get a certain amount of votes, they're dropped off the ballot. But if you get a certain amount, you stay on for so many years. And then Billy Wagner, this was his last year on the ballot and he got voted in. To me, you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not.
I hear you.
Why do you have to wait? I get you want to give people the first ballot or unanimous.
Next time we have Derek Gould on the show. We've had Derek Gould on the show once before. We were we worked together for quite a few years. He is if you don't know who Derek Gould is, he covers the St. Louis Cardinals for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and is one of the most well-respected baseball writers on the planet. Maybe we'll have him on again this year. And I'll ask him that question because that is a very good question. I know there are a lot of writers who sit and say, you know what? I like Billy Wagner. He's probably a Hall of Famer, but maybe I'll think about him next year. I don't know why you do that.
It's because they want to let certain people in and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't ask me to reason with Baseball Hall of Fame voters.
William, I know there are a couple other Saints comments. I'm gonna finish the show with Saints. We're gonna wrap it up in a minute, but I got about 2 more minutes here with Gabe. Super Bowl. Is there anything that I know you can bring up the fact stuff? I know you might want to spend more than a couple minutes. Maybe we talk about that either Friday or at some point next week. But just some general thoughts. What you got on the Super Bowl? The line has not moved, neither the spread nor the over-under. And we talked about it Wednesday, Gabe, Monday, excuse me. We talked about there's a lot of movement early, the first day or day and a half, and then it kind of stays stagnant and doesn't change much. And then those last 3 days, there's kind of a flurry of movement on different things. But neither you nor I think there'll be much change here over the course of the next week or so.
No, I don't. And just a fun little fact and a preview to what I'm sure we'll talk about later. I texted you this yesterday. I've got a bunch of fun random facts, especially as it relates to betting to the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Yeah, where's that going to run, by the way?
Would you say where or when?
Yeah, where? Where can they find that?
Where?
I know you're writing it.
Review.
It'll
go live on Sportsbook Review either this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
Okay, so everybody check
I'm writing a detailed piece. Basically, this year, for those who don't know, New Orleans will host its 11th Super Bowl. And as such, they will move into a tie with Miami for the most times to have hosted a Super Bowl. LA is next, I believe, with 8. And then it's down, I think, Tampa at 5. But
where are the Saints on the list?
In terms of what?
How many times in the Super Bowl? I'm just kidding. You had a hard time looking that one up, didn't you?
No.
It's better than the Lions.
It is better. It's better than the Texans too.
There's
actually
Cleveland
12
Browns
teams who have never won a Super Bowl.
Oh, let me while we can do a quick trivia: Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans. Haven't been. There are 12 teams that haven't been to the Super Bowl.
Oh no, haven't won.
Haven't won. Okay. Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Let's see. Let me go. Atlanta Falcons. Love saying that one. The Carolina Panthers never won a Super Bowl.
Nope.
We said Detroit already. Bears won in 85. I don't know. That's got to.
I can rattle off 3 more. The Titans, the Bengals, and the Vikings have never won. Oh, wait, have the Vikings won?
No, they never won.
No, okay.
They've been 4 times and lost all 4.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so that's
the old Fran
10
Tarkenton Vikings.
I'm sure there's.
Yep. See,
Vikings got it.
GDM got them before us, and so did Charles Schulman.
Anyway, so I'm doing a deep dive in the Super Bowl in New Orleans and just the history, because after 10 games, you're bound to have some betting trends.
Yep.
And I found a few interesting things. First off, if this line closes at anything less than 3, which I assume it will, I don't imagine it would get any higher.
Oh, it's not getting over 3.
No, I don't imagine it would get anything higher than over 2.5 if we see movement at all.
I don't think there's going to be much movement. I think it's pretty close.
Neither do I. So this will close as the lowest spread or the closest spread in New Orleans Super Bowl history.
Okay.
And then another, just because I know people love to place these miscellaneous
Cardinals.
Yep, Cardinals.
I don't even know if they've won an NFL championship. They've been.
I don't know if they have either. But for those who love to place exact score bets, like the fun little prop bets, 7 times the Super Bowl has been played indoors in the Superdome under its various names in New Orleans. There have only been 3 unique scores in those games. 37 points scored, 56 points scored, and 65 points scored. So if you want to bet on a variation of any scores totaling 37, 56, or 65, you have a pretty good chance based on history and hitting.
Okay. Saints fan 0521. Good afternoon. It is afternoon now. And by the way, one smoke, the Cardinals, I just looked it up. The Cardinals have won 2 NFL championships. The first was in 1925. It was disputed by supporters of the runners-up, the Pottsville Maroons. Their second and first to be won in a championship game came in 1947. That is the last time the Cardinals organization has won a NFL championship, and I believe they were the Chicago Cardinals back then. So, yes, they've won championship, but it's been a long time. Gabe, it won't be a long time before I see you again. I will see you on Friday.
Sounds good. I'll bring all my little factoids.
Please do, and we will talk about them. And who knows? Maybe we'll talk about Saquon Barkley being the GOAT. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see you.
Not quite.
Probably not. All right, let's wrap it up with poor Fitzgerald. Or Larry Fitzgerald. What a great receiver he was. Just fun. Look, y'all, by the way, before I get to the closing statements here, here's your last chance to get in your comments about the Saints coaching search. We will be talking about it again on Friday with Larry Holder. Again, all next week on Radio Row, 1 p.m. shows. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll figure out the rest after that. And where we are with the Saints. Give us a like if you're watching on YouTube, please. And let's see, how many people we got here? Jay Tucker Rafferty, JC Brar, a couple others were watching on Facebook and comment. Go over to our YouTube page. Become a subscriber to the Dattitude YouTube page. That's where our family lives. You don't have to watch on there, but we'd appreciate it if you go and be a subscriber on the Dattitude YouTube page and give us a like. They say it helps. I have no idea why. Final thoughts on where we are with the coaching search. In case you missed the early part of the show, I'll probably repeat a couple things that I said earlier. And look, I'm not going to get fired up about where they are right now. And I get the people being impatient and, all the things, you guys being, this got to happen now. Why hasn't it happened yet? Why are the Saints last? Everything's Loomis's fault. The world's coming to an end. Brian Cavett earlier, Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The Saints will never be good again. As long as I know there are so many people out there who think that the Saints aren't going to be good ever again with Loomis here. That's crazy talk. Okay? Loomis has been here for 24 years. Okay? They've won a Super Bowl with him here. They've been to the NFC Championship game. All that was because of Peyton. Malarkey. Sure, it was in part because of Peyton, big part because of Breeze, but it's also partly because of Loomis. If I don't think Loomis had a part of Saints' success in the past, you're wrong. Okay? You're just simply wrong. You can't, it's the same for a coach, okay? It's the same for a quarterback. You can't give a quarterback or a coach or a general manager or any one person all of the negative responses and not give them some of the positives if there are positives. It's not fair to the person. You can't do it. Okay? I get why people are impatient and are upset with Loomis. And I'm not defending, again, I'm not going to sit here and defend what Mickey Loomis has done, especially after last year and not firing Dennis Allen after the whole Falcons debacle and Arthur Smith and a guy who was fired before his plane landed in Atlanta, leaving the dome, going back home. And probably will never be a head coach again and is a decent OC. Should have fired Dennis Allen. We probably wouldn't be in this situation right now. Probably wouldn't have been this bad right now. But we are here. So I'm not going to defend Loomis for how we got here. Okay? But at the same time, to say that this team can't be a winner as long as he's here is a ridiculous statement. Okay? It's a ridiculous statement. Because if the Saints get Kellen Moore or whomever is the coach next year, they have a good draft, which whether they will or won't, I think they had a good draft last year. And they're competitive again next year and take steps to be good again. You're not going to give Mickey Loomis that. You haters, you same haters won't give Mickey Loomis any credit. Loomis is old and outdated. You're an idiot. How can you give him any chance? Time has passed him by. Why? Because he's 68? His mind seems as sharp to me as it was 20 years ago. I'm just saying. If he was good enough then, I don't see why he can't be good enough now to make this decision. And I also think that there's too many people saying that coaches are bowing out because of him. It's ridiculous. We told you why Aaron Glenn didn't come to New Orleans. Now, again, I think the Saints' problem was, if you want to, it's not just Loomis. I think it was other people in the building too. Their egos are this big. Oh, we want Aaron Glenn. We're going to get Aaron Glenn. Well, they wanted Aaron Glenn. They didn't get Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn bleeds green and white. He went to the Jets. That's where he played for the majority of his career. It's easy to see why he would want to go back there. Joe Brady pulled his name out of consideration. Not because of Mickey Loomis, because someone in the agent atmosphere let Joe Brady know he wasn't getting the job. Same for Cliff Kingsbury. You don't think Joe Brady or Cliff Kingsbury would want to take this job, one of 32 jobs? You don't think Cliff Kingsbury would eat paper on live TV to be a head coach again? Any of the 32 teams in the NFL? You're crazy if you don't think so. Same goes for Joe Brady. Now, Mike McCarthy is a different story because he can, just like he did before he got the Cowboys job, he can afford to sit out a year. He's 61. He's established. When 2026 comes around, just like Mike Vrabel this year, sat out a year and got the job that he wanted. Mike McCarthy, I don't know which job that might be, but there might be a job out there that he's waiting for. And I also think it was part of Saints and McCarthy played a little bit of a chicken, played a bit of chicken. Maybe the Saints got to a point where they say, you know what? We want Kellen Moore anyway. It's tough when you got a guy that's about to be an offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl. Preacher man, I agree with you. Loomis won, made 3 NFC championship games, won 1 Super Bowl. Can win with him. GDM. Played for the Jets, started his coaching career there too. See, you're missing my point, Tramal. If Loomis is as good as I say, then why the Saints have the worst salary cap every year? I'm not saying, again, you're taking what I'm saying and you're going to a different end of the spectrum. I'm not defending Mickey Loomis. I'm not saying that he hasn't made mistakes. You're missing my point. With the Saints need, and I'm not sure I'll tell you what worries me about Kellen Moore. What worries me about Kellen Moore is that I wanted someone young, maybe not this young. Is he going to be able here to come in here and say, these are the guys I want? Because that's going to be part of this head coaching job. Whoever's head coach next year is also going to be, in part, pseudo GM. Can he do that? We're going to find out. Because Loomis gives a lot of leniency. He leans on his coaches for what they want. What do you want? What personnel do you want? That's where I think Mickey's strength is. Now, Mickey's going to have the final say-so in those things, but I like that he leans on his coaches and lets them make the decisions, which is why I thought McCarthy would have been a good fit here, because McCarthy probably didn't have hardly any say-so in Dallas. I'm just saying, look, here we go. Here's numbnut of the day. Moron of the day. Aaron Miller. You don't have any clue of what you don't have one iota of sense in your head, or you just spout out bullshit because you want to do it. He says, if you listen to the podcast after the fact, at this point, we have to ask if this dude gets paid by the team to spin everything positive. If you think I spin everything positive, you out your mind. Go back and find any show from 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. So, adios, Aaron Miller. Thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. We'll show you the door. Don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out. That's how I choose to end this show today. By not letting the door hit you in the ass on the way. We don't have to agree on stuff, but you don't have to be a jackass about it. Because if you're a jackass, I'm going to call you out. I get to do that. Because you see that up there? Where is it? Up there? It says Dattitude with Jim Derry. I get to do that. Get paid by the Saints. I wish I got paid by the Saints. Shoot. I'll get paid. Look, I'm working like 3 jobs right now. Absolutely. Mal, you are 100% right, my friend. I don't spend everything. We can disagree. We can disagree all day. It doesn't matter. I'll show. Look, I don't think Randall's here right now, but Randall is the number 1 disagreement guy. We can disagree all day long, and I'm going to show him, and I'll tell you why I disagree with you. Jay says he's not a regular. He's not only not a regular, probably not coming back. I probably shouldn't piss the viewers off. I'm probably not at a point in my career or with this show trying to build up this show. I'm asking y'all to subscribe to YouTube, and then I'm telling a dude to not let the door hit him in the ass on the way out. But You say stupid stuff like that, I'm going to call you out. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us on this Wednesday. I want to thank today's guest, Eric Asher, Gabe Henderson, and you. Always you. That's what's different about this show than most other shows. We interact with you, even if we don't agree. Even if sometimes you say some things that, if you come back and say you're sorry, who knows? We hope you can join us next on Friday when we will gladly, happily welcome in the Athletics' Larry Holder as we talk about, who knows, maybe we'll have a Saints coach by then. Doubt it, but maybe. A lot of people out there saying it's going to happen soon. They can announce it. They can't sign the paperwork. We'll see what happens. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And, of course, you can find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can check me out on bet.nola.com. Saints fan 0521, thank me for keeping it real. Always, my friend. Always keep, sometimes too real. S. Callie, great show. Who dat? Thank you. Preacher Man, thank you for coming again. My Dattitude family, Nola man. Have a good day, my brother. You as well. Viewers enjoyed that. I wasn't doing it just to be entertaining. That's who I am. You can find our Saints Insiders on NOLA.com/Saints. We will see you on Friday. We love you all, even the guys who don't love me back. See you Friday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.